Hi guys, so I'm guessing if you haven't seen the introduction video, this would be the first official video on the channel Brawncast. So again, welcome to the Brawncast. We will be talking, or I will be talking about something which is very important to me, actually, or something which molded me a lot as I grew up. And you've probably picked up on it from the title of this video, which I haven't decided on what it is yet. I will have decided by the time I upload this. It'll have something to do with eating disorders and fitness. Now, I'd like you guys to get to know me a little bit better, obviously, so that you would be more interested in watching more stuff on this channel. And I'll get right into it then. So when I was 13 years old, I started to really have an issue with the way that I looked. Now, I grew up in Canada, and Canada is one of the best places I've ever been in. I'm not staying there at the moment. I'm actually staying in Dubai. But when I grew up in Canada, I actually didn't encounter bullying or anything like that. But for some reason, I got it in my head when I was 13, and I was pudgy. I was overweight, that's for sure. And I've got the stretch marks to prove it. But I got it in my head that there was something really wrong with me, and I was severely overweight, which looking back I really wasn't, and that I had to do something about it. And so I decided to stop eating. I would eat maybe a few fruits a day, so I lived off fruit and Diet Coke. There would be days where I'd only have a pack of gum and Diet Coke, and I absolutely hated my body because of that. Because I idolized that anorexic look. Now the thing is, I'm 5'3". I'm not genetically the same as other people, and it took me a long time to realize that. So as much as I hated my body for never getting to the point where my bones were sticking out, and it's not that I found that attractive, I don't know why, I put that image on a pedestal, and my body just was not having it. So as much as I cut back on food, as much as I'd purge, and I'd binge, and I'd try this, and I'd try that, and I'd exercise for 6 hours a day, nothing did it. I never got as small as I wanted to be, and I resented my body. And I was like, why don't you just work with me? But the thing is, what I didn't realize is I was disconnecting myself from my body. My body was like, it was this thing that wasn't working with me. And that doesn't work. Like, I'll tell you from experience, it doesn't work. And it upset me a lot, and it took me a very long time to get over it. And so if you think about it, I was basically struggling. I'm 26 at the moment, so I've been dealing with it since I was 13, which is essentially half my life. And only recently have I kind of gotten over it, and I've gotten over it with the help of training and personal fitness. But it's not something that necessarily goes away. It does go away, that kind of mindset, but it changes as well. So whereas before I was obsessing about not eating, now I'm obsessing about eating. But I guess it's better because it's more towards eating healthy and eating enough and all these kinds of things. But the pivotal things for me were really like when I started lifting weight. I started realizing that if I want to actually achieve my goals, I can't keep this thing around, this notion that I can't eat. And I look back and I think if I trained as hard as I train now, which I was training damn hard, what would I look like today? Who would I have been today? What would I have achieved today? And it is something that upsets me, because it's like I could have been someone totally different. But at the same time, at least I got out of it. I think I got out of it a lot better than maybe some other people would have, because to be honest, I actually don't give that much of a shit anymore what I look like. So I'm pretty happy with actually finally coming to that point in my life where I don't need to wear makeup, I don't need to starve myself, I don't need to get dressed up and all these things just for people to be interested in me, because I'm confident in who I've become. That being said, back to the point is like, this is a constant thing that's actually happening with a lot of people in the fitness industry, and not just women, but men also. And especially with men, we don't really talk about it, which I don't think is fair. because it might take a different form with women. But that doesn't mean that obsessive behavior is not present in men. You know, the I have to hit my macros like this, and I have to do this, and that's cool, man. Keep at it. You're going towards your goals and stuff. But if it starts to become like, I can't go out and enjoy a meal with my family because I know afterwards I'm going to have to deal with about 2 to 3 days of extra working out and depression. If not full-on depression, but some severe emotional distress. And it's like, you know what, guys, the thing is, you only live so long. And it's not worth it. That being said, though, it's like, in the moment, I've been through it for a very long time, and I don't know what the breaking point for me was. I think it was just, there was so much else going on in my life that I needed to focus on, that I had to drop one thing. I had to drop one stress, and the stress I chose to drop was this thing, because I can't turn my back on my other responsibilities. That doesn't mean I turned my back on the responsibility of how I feel about myself. It's just, I kind of let go. I eased off on it a bit, because the other things that I was doing validated my character so thoroughly that I didn't need to validate myself through this anymore. And I'm not really too sure where I'm going about this. It's just kind of opening up a bit of a discussion. If you guys want to comment about it, I'll post this on Instagram, I'll post this on Twitter, and I'd love to hear your feedback and your stories, and how similar they are and how different they are. Some people will definitely have begun down that path because of comments or experiences they've had, whereas some people just end up doing that, like me. Just because it's a form of control, it's something to regulate your days, because I am a very routine-oriented person. I basically eat the same thing every day. And that's not because I'm afraid of eating different things, it's just, it's easier for me. I eat at the same times every day. That's how I mark my days. That's how I mark the passage of time. But it's not as obsessive as it used to be. What I feel like is that it is, and I will kind of hang on the idea of what it's like for men, because I'm not a man, so I would like to hear the male perspective of it. But for example, the constant obsession with taking certain kinds of supplements. Now, at the moment, the only thing that I'm taking is 1 protein bar a day, and I'm taking vitamins. And I tried to take protein shakes, I tried to take creatine and BCAAs, and maybe it was just that point in my life, maybe it was that mix, maybe it was those brands, they didn't suit me, they really messed up my stomach. But I did also feel like that because I wasn't taking them, when I would discuss it with other people, all of a sudden my dedication was less valid because I wasn't willing to take them. Do you get what I'm saying? I hope you get what I'm saying. But it shouldn't be this cookie cutter thing. It really shouldn't be, because the thing is, whatever we're doing, we want it to last for a long time. So you got to find your own path, you got to find your own decisions, you got to find what you're comfortable with. And I'm really jumping around at this point, but okay, let me go back to it a bit. So when I went from not eating and constantly wanting to get smaller, and then I started lifting and I started working out, and the reason was actually that I got out of that negative cycle of an eating disorder was because someone made a comment. A friend of mine made a comment. Is a really simple one, and that's the amazing thing. Sometimes just that one person making that comment, and it was just completely offhanded remark, which was, if you want to know exactly what it was like, hey Mary, you know, your butt doesn't look as good as it used to. And I was like, oh no, that's the last thing that I want. And from there, I just started working out properly. I started eating more. I started introducing food again, and it was very difficult because for a very long time I couldn't process most food. Most food would make me feel like shit for an entire week. If I ate carbs, if I ate this, and I tried the pills, I tried the shakes, I tried the Hollywood diet, I tried detoxing, I tried all the stuff under the sun. But I never felt good. I never felt good afterwards. And that's part of getting out of it. You're not going to feel good for a while because you've conditioned yourself to accept a certain standard, and then you're radically changing it. So your body's going to need to adjust. Like, at my worst point, when I was dealing with my eating disorder, not only was I extremely tired all the time, I was extremely weak. My body couldn't regulate temperature. So I was always freezing to the point where my hands would be shaking, even in Dubai heat. It was uncomfortable to sit for too long because my tailbone was sticking out. I think I used to faint. I had 2 seizures last year, and it was just uncomfortable. And apart from that comment, it was the little things that made me think, this is not the life I want to lead. Like, opening a door was difficult. Come on, I gotta be able to open doors, and I just decided that's not what I want anymore. It's not worth my time to keep living like that. And that's when I changed, and it was a very long and arduous process, and there was a lot of self-doubt, because especially when you start working out seriously and you start adjusting your diet, your weight fluctuates a lot. So it's difficult to look in the mirror. But I just didn't look in the mirror as much. I knew what I was doing was the right thing, and that I needed to accept the fact that my body is the way my body is. That doesn't mean necessarily that I cannot change it for an aesthetic reason or for a health reason. It's just, I'm not going to grow an extra 5 inches and have much longer legs and be able to look the way a model does. That's not me. That's unrealistic. It's just hanging on to these unrealistic ideas, and instead of thinking, hey man, my body could have given out on me so long ago. I wore out the cartilage in one of my knees because I was working out that hard, but it's fine now. And it's like, there could have been so much more that went wrong with me, and it didn't, and I resented it, not realizing that I have this vessel that is tough and it's perfect for what I wanted to be able to do. But I just didn't see it until it got to the point where it was like, it's difficult to function normally. And some people get to that point and they stick to it. And I know it's very difficult being that person, but it's also extremely difficult being the partner of that person, or the friend, or the family, because you just want to get upset. You just want to get upset. You want to tell them they're being stupid because you don't understand. But it's this constant negative narrative that they're going through in their brain, and it's a constant. It's genuinely a constant. From your waking hour to the time you go to bed. It's the thing you're thinking about. You're planning it out. You're using your calorie counters. You're checking calories, and you're adjusting your meals, and you're adjusting your lifestyle. So for example, okay, I want to go out tonight. I want to party with my friends, but they're going to go for dinner. So I'm going to say, I'm busy. Meet them afterwards. Say I had dinner at home. Because you lie. You lie. Because you don't want people to ask too many questions. Because you know that they're not actually saying anything wrong. It's not like you're stupid. You know what's going on. You know what you're doing isn't good for you. But you make excuses. And you keep making excuses, and you do it well enough. And you do it well enough that you can get by. Because half of the time, people aren't going to get as involved as they might need to, or you might like them to, because you might just be waiting for someone to get involved. But if you can acknowledge that you're actually just waiting for someone to say something to you so that you can start working on getting out of that negative space, take it on yourself, man. Take the responsibility on yourself. Things don't get handed to you. You want to look a certain way, it's work, and it's worth the work. Because half the fun isn't getting there. If you're just sitting and letting yourself waste away, you're wasting your years, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your opportunities. And that goes for absolutely everyone, for someone who's younger, who's older, male, female, and I really want to stress the fact that it's not just women, because it's worth talking with your male friends if you feel like they're going through something like that. And then it's also worth making the change because you don't want people you care about emulating you. You don't want your siblings, your family, your friends. Like, a friend of mine made a comment, and he was losing a lot of weight, and I said, "Hey man, what are you doing? You look really good." And he said, "I'm doing the Mary diet. I'm not eating anything." And it hit me, and it's like, okay, I'm out of it now, but the ripple effect of the behavior that I had before is now affecting other people. And I can tell him it's stupid and it's dumb and you shouldn't do that. And he'll turn around and tell me, "Yeah, but you did it for 13 years. You know? That's what I did. So now it's on me to be the example." And, you know, you might get out of it. But you got to be conscious then of what happens afterwards. And it affects everybody. It absolutely affects everybody, even the people you don't think it affects. And it affects people in different ways. Even if someone looks totally healthy, like I did, I think, it doesn't mean they're not struggling with something like that. And I can't give you indicators. I'm not asking you to change someone else's life. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just giving it a bit of a voice, because it is something definitely worth talking about. And even if, for example, no one you know has come out and said it or anything, but if you have an inkling that someone is beginning to obsess over things like this, it's worth just getting their opinion. Because leaving it alone is what makes it worse. Leaving it alone is what makes you think 13 years later, hey man, I could have been competing